Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Big apology to all of the Vikings minus 3.5 bettors. Tough beat. I wonder if any of them are on the show today.
That seems strangely pointed. This is Arif Hassan with the Wide Left Substack. I had a different cold open planned, but that one was targeted at me, so I've got nothing.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and I think I might still be kind of shaking.
Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. Yeah, that game was fun. We should do it again in 3 weeks, but this time on national television. What could go wrong?
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next-level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
That game was bonkers. Welcome in to the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. A brand new week of Victory Monday, and we're glad you're with us watching live on the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel or listening on demand, Locked On Vikings podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for making us your first watch or listen on this fine Monday morning. Vikings win a fifth straight in Soldier. As predicted, it wasn't easy. It went to overtime. It was zany. It was insane. And the Vikings win 30-27. They are 9-2, folks. We will break down the zaniest, the craziest, wackiest moments from this win, all the stuff that stood out. Sam Darnold heroics. 3 guys go off with over 100 yards, and they were not named Justin Jefferson, plus our Monday nerdy stats and some big props cashed in our betting contest. All of that on today's show, which is brought to you, by the way, by FanDuel. You can make every moment more at FanDuel and get a big return. New customers place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets. If that $5 bet wins, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Oh boy, Luke Inman, you were on the postcast hosting us yesterday, and I mean we reacted instantly when I think we were all still shaking, like Luke Braun alluded to. The hearts were still pounding. There were palpitations going on. And looking back on it now, the morning after, there's still like some residual tension, I think, from the way that game ended. It was not supposed to be that stressful. It was supposed to feel like, I think, the previous 3 weeks where you get to the finish line and you say, well, it wasn't pretty, but it ended up being fairly comfortable in the end. What didn't happen that way? Crazy stress, overtime at Soldier. What's like the most stressful moment from that game yesterday that kind of lingers with you?
Man, I'll tell you what, too. It's funny and ironic because we spent all week talking about this is Vikes Bears. Expect the unexpected, and it's almost like we lulled ourselves to sleep, but nobody could have expected how that one shook out. I think it's honestly, you see teams in the NFL when defenses go into that a little bit softer, let's take the foot off the gas, a little bit more of a prevent defense. You do see teams march up the field way too easy, so I wasn't too surprised to see Caleb Williams hit like DJ Moore over the middle and set up that field goal. It's the onside conversion, though. How many? I'm sorry, guys. How many have been converted this year in the NFL?
I think that was the third one this year.
Okay.
That was the first one.
First one this year.
First one this year,
okay.
maybe with those new rules. Okay, yeah. So, again, just a classic Vikings just gaffe. Obviously, we can pick on Johnny Munt like we did yesterday, plus he had the false start in overtime as well. But, it's just the fact that, like, of all these games, I've sat and watched a bunch of red zone this year after these Vikes games, seen a lot of onside kick attempts. Never have we seen one, obviously, to happen to the Vikings in Soldier in that fashion and lose all the momentum as well. That one kept me up a little bit, for sure.
2 teams have recovered onside kicks against the Ravens this year. One was
well,
the
then
Dallas
Kevin
Cowboys.
Kugler got bad intel because
I was confused.
Wow.
I'm glad you said that because I thought there was one, at
The
least one.
state of
if not
NFL
two.
broadcasts. My
But-
God.
Yeah,
He kept
I
saying
was
that
like
was the first one. And I was
confident
like,
that
really?
was the third one.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at it last night because I also wrote first onside kick while I was writing my story, and then I was like, that feels wrong, and I Googled it. And so the Dallas Cowboys did that, and then I believe it was also Washington that did that against the Ravens. I know the Ravens gave it up twice.
Kugler said there'd only been 9 onside attempts all year, which seemed low.
No, that
through
seems so
11 weeks. So did you? How many attempts were there? Like, what is the recovery rate this season?
I don't know the answer to that. I just know that I looked up teams to recover onside kicks in 2024.
Got it. Well, okay.
That seems
already,
light, though. You're right, Sam. That seems very light.
I mean, I think the percentage recovery rate is 5-ish%, 10 max since they changed the rules. They made it more difficult, and now obviously you have to declare it. You got to have the 5 on each side. It's very hard. It's very hard. And, something flukey's got to happen for you to recover it. And I think if that's just recovered routinely, we're not talking at all about how the Bears drove the field late and scored a touchdown. We wouldn't be worried at all because you just expect to recover onside kicks. In fact, how many games have the Vikings recovered a run-of-the-mill onside kick this season? The Niners game, I believe.
Packer game?
Colts
game. Colts game, yes. So 3 onside kicks they'd recovered pretty easily. Johnny Munt's ankle got in the way. And I'm not even mad at Johnny Munt, I'll be honest with you. Like, Johnny Munt's job is to block the guy coming at him so that, was it Hockenson? So that Hockenson could get the ball. It's pretty hard to focus on your block and avoid the football. I think that's just and it wasn't a great kick, right? The kick was like kind of curving away. It might not even gone 10 yards. I'm not even that mad at Johnny Munt. It was a fluke.
Yeah, he said in the locker room after the game that that's like how he's supposed to do it. My guess is they'll probably change the way they approach onside kicks or the way that they teach that player to do it and say, hey, you got to have ball awareness and like maybe don't just crash it so aggressively. Like they might make an adjustment to make sure that kind of thing can't happen again. But that is just like how it's supposed to go. And it was an interesting idea to just sort of hope it bounces around the right ankles, just kind of spin it 5 yards instead of 10 and hope it bounces around the right ankles. My nerdy stat is relevant to this. Should I just give it to you now?
Well, you can't give it until we play this.
Analytics fans rejoice. It's time to get educated
Whoa, you're blowing my mind right now.
with the nerdy stat of the day.
This is from Kevin Seifert and ESPN Research. Teams that were trailing by 10 or more points in the final 30 seconds of regulation are now 0-1,882 since the turn of the century. The Bears were the second team over that span to even force overtime. That's how fluky this was. The other time that happened was in 2012 with the Lions.
Oh, my gosh. I said it on the postcast. The win probability was 99.9% as the Bears were driving the field for the touchdown. And the score with 22 seconds left and no timeouts. You don't expect to be in that position. And the fact that they can, and Caleb with a dart.
That was
get them in field goal
rope,
range.
man. That was. Yeah.
Guess what the play call was?
Dagger. Dagger. There is and then Santos, I thought he hooked it, man. I thought he hooked the field goal.
It did.
Yeah.
It had to
didn't
come
look
back
right.
in, huh?
Yeah.
Who had the worst special teams day? Vikings give up a 55-yard kickoff return.
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, Washington somehow had the worst day on this field as well.
Yeah.
All the karma from the Hail Mary is just crashed back on Washington. Wild. The Vikings give up a 55-yard kickoff return. They botch an onside kick. The Bears have a field goal blocked and muff a punt. All pretty
Yeah,
critical
that's
plays.
worse, actually, I think, than what the Vikings did. That's worse.
I mean, that's
That's like,
directly 3 points off the
Yeah.
board on the field
Yeah.
goal and like 7 points on the board for the Vikings with the
right.
the
Like in
offside.
terms of expected points, it's probably something like 8.5 or something like that. Just like crazy swings as a result. Whereas, the Vikings obviously didn't have a wonderful day on their end with their mistakes, but I think the net expected points produced from special teams on both sides of the ball, including the onside kick thing, probably favors the Vikings more than anything else.
Also,
But
Torrey
man,
Taylor
what a
outkicking his coverage every single time.
Every
That was a
single
terrible.
Well,
punting
I
game.
was told that he was a weapon, that he was going to tilt
Yeah,
games
man.
for the Bears, and that I shouldn't ever make fun of.
I was told he wasn't even going to punt.
Yeah, good point.
That's right. That's right. Hey, anybody remember? I got this from Vikings PR. Anybody remember the last time the Vikings blocked a field goal? Wasn't that long ago? Wasn't?
I
So,
don't
It was like
remember.
I'm just going to guess a wild Seattle game. It kind of feels like
this-
something that would happen.
Okay.
This won't qualify, but do you remember in Kansas City in 19 they actually got a finger on Butker's game-winning kick at the buzzer and it still went in?
That's rough.
That won't count. I remember Tuesday night at Philly in 2010, the Winfield touchdown. That's the last one I can remember, and I'm sure they've done it
Well,
since.
you're right on it because it was week 2 of 2022 at Philly. It was that Monday night game. Kirk Cousins, the Justin Jefferson fumble into the back of the end zone, all that stuff. Patrick Peterson, week 2 of 2022 at Philly.
That's right. That's
Patrick
right.
Peterson. Patrick.
Also,
didn't
shout out
Kirk
to
promptly throw a
James
pick?
Kuno. Shout out to James
Probably.
Kuno in the comments for getting it, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very nice.
nice.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
Nice.
Do we have an update on Chain Gang Guy? I'm concerned about Chain Gang Guy. It seems
Boy, that
we're never
reminded me
getting
of
That was
the time-
non-contact, right?
Yeah, that was
He's out for the season.
non-contact, which
Gotta be.
is obviously worse. But I couldn't help but have flashbacks of Limbaugh Joseph just trucking that one dude, the sound guy, over during the introductions when they were all running out.
Okay.
I met that guy
Barkley,
about 4 weeks
Barkley did
after
that to
I
a
met
guy
that
last
guy.
night, by the way, in the
All right.
Sunday night game. Barkley
I-
just killed a guy on the sideline.
I want to have to say. So the sound guy is employed by the broadcast network, right? He probably has work-related health insurance. The Chain Gang guy, I'm like, really, is he covered by the NFLRA
Is he
bargaining
union?
agreement?
Yeah,
No,
union.
a legitimate question. Is he union?
Is he union
Right.
though?
Yeah.
There
No,
is
write it
no way
off.
there isn't some
Write it
kind of
off.
protection for like
There's gotta be
game-related injury.
Yeah.
A
I
league
would
employed
hope, but
contractor.
you got to remember that even like the actual refs on the field themselves are technically only part-time. Now the refs obviously have in-game, injury protection
Coverage. Yeah.
Half of them are lawyers. There's no way they would screw that up.
Right.
But the Chain Gang guys, I'm worried about because I don't know if they're part of the refs union. If they are, they're probably fine. If they're not, I am concerned, right? Because they could just be ball boy type. I have no idea. So I legitimately am concerned about this guy, and hopefully he has coverage. If he doesn't, it'll go viral. Is my hope. I would recommend him to try and go viral, and then that problem will resolve itself. That's how we fix that.
Yeah, I was worried about his well-being. Lower body injury, but he also seemed a little bit loopy, like he was passing out. I wasn't sure what was actually ailing him, but they got the blue tent up, they got a backup in, and hey, nothing but good vibes after that. Sam Darnold engineers
Nothing but good vibes after that.
a
A
heroic
sacrificial knee for the Vikings.
we are going to detail Sam Darnold's overtime drive because it was the best that we've seen from Sam as a Minnesota Viking. Got them in John Parker Romo's field goal range for the winner. That's next on the Minnesota
26-yard winner.
Party. 29.
29 yard. That's his range. You got to get
Yeah.
Right. Well, so long as you center it.
Right?
center it and get it under
Center
30, and you're good to go.
right in his wheelhouse. That's coming up, Minnesota Football Party. We are brought to you today by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity. Don't waste it scrolling on social media. Don't get in that doom scrolling cycle with the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. Spend your time wisely. Be a lifelong learner. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses. Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic. Just a few examples of the many Hillsdale College offerings. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced. You can start wherever, whenever. You can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Pop in those AirPods. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. Again, it's free. It's easy to get started. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Oh, it was a big day yesterday for your boy at Prize Picks. Nico Collins over, TJ Hockenson over, Tyreek Hill under. Yes, that was the entry that cashed for me at Prize Picks, and you too can get in the action and win up to 100 times your money at Prize Picks, the best way to play daily fantasy sports. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. You can have the flex play. I'm fond of the flex play because you don't have to be 100%. You can cash if you get 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5. You don't have to be perfect. You still get some money if you come close at Prize Picks. You also get paid in as quickly as 15 minutes. And withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. You can also use Venmo now, which is pretty cool. So at Prize Picks, download the app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the Prize Picks app, use code LOCKEDONNFL, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. And we have a great lineup here at Locked On Sports Minnesota. We're live every Monday and Thursday. Ron Johnson hosts on Tuesdays and Fridays. We talk basketball on Wednesday mornings as well. So Sam Darnold started this game, guys, like 9 of 19 or 11 of 21, like 50% completion. There was no room out there. Bears secondary looked like they had 8 guys every time deflecting everything. It was tough. It was tough moving the ball through the air, but the explosives, like I think he had about 15 yards per completion there for a while. What did he end the game at for yards per attempt? I got to get that.
In the second half, he had 16 yards per completion. And I forget what he finished with like yards. The first half, second half splits were pretty extraordinary in terms of yards per attempt. I think first half it was like 6.5 yards per attempt. Second half it was over 11 yards per attempt. By second half, I mean that includes overtime. But yeah, I mean obviously the 90-yard drive and
like 6 for 6, 90 yards in OT.
It's just kind of funny because like the net yardage in the drive I think is like 68 yards and he had 90 passing yards on it.
Well, that's what's funny because that drive started with a sack on 1st and 10.
Right. It started with a 7-yard sack. There was a false start in the middle of it.
Johnny Munt.
And holding. He made up all of the extra yardage, right? Yeah. Like with
didn't even get to a third down on either of those backed up series, by the way.
No. That's crazy.
No. First down, second down, move the chains, no problem. Like
just keep going.
3rd and 10. They had a 3rd and 10 on the very first, right after the sack. They got
Jordan Addison.
Sorry, just the
I will say after the sack, you're thinking, oh man, we forced the Bears to punt because of that Caleb Williams ridiculous sack by Jonathan Grenard. And then it's like, oh no, we're going to have to go 3 and out now too. Those next 2 throws after the sack, one to Hockenson to get half of it back, and then to hit Addison on 3rd and 10 on that out route. That was huge. That felt like, okay, move the chains. Then they really got cooking. A lot of play action on that drive. And just taking what the defense gave them one play at a time, like you said.
That sack was the only time where the win probability actually was in the Bears' favor.
Wow.
Because everything beyond that, the Bears were favored to like get to overtime, but that's still a coin flip. Only in overtime, sitting behind that 3rd and 10 and that 2nd and whatever it was, that was when it seemed like the win probability favored the Bears because they would have to punt it back and then it would be next score wins.
Yeah. So those next 2 throws, though, absolutely huge after that then. Really.
So my nerdy stat kind of plays into this. I don't know exactly which throws PFF classified as big time throws, but Sam Darnold had 5 of them yesterday. Only 2 quarterbacks this year have more big time throws in a game. Geno had 7 big time throws in week 6. Kyler had 6 big time throws in week 2. Sammy had 5 yesterday, and darts in overtime. He was 11 of 13 in the 4th quarter in OT for 166. Addison, Hockenson, Did Jefferson have one in OT?
Yeah, JJ, he threw
Yeah.
a dot
Yes,
to
20
JJ
yards.
over
Second
the
and
middle
11.
of the field.
That was
That
great.
was in stride. Only JJ could catch it. Tight window, and JJ, did the rest. Yards after the catch, got that first down. But yeah, how many to Hockenson on OT? 3, including that nail in the coffin, that 30-yard
And one wiped out, right? It was in the fourth quarter. I'm sorry, that was
In
that was
overtime.
Jefferson. That was Jefferson had the one wiped out by the Powell.
Yep.
pick.
That was a Jefferson long touchdown. Hockenson had 3 in that final drive.
Man.
Got half of it after the sack on that 2nd and 17, and then converted a 2nd and 11 on a little wide delay deal, and then the big one at the end.
And none of that really mattered for anybody's gambling picks. So
I think everything had already cleared by then. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you needed
I
overtime.
no, he
Makes
needed
a
overtime.
Yeah.
You needed
Yeah, because you're
I,
at 66, right?
Yeah.
Oil it now. Yeah, I had the alt line 70 yards
Gutsy.
Hockenson prop at
Gutsy.
plus 470. Needed OT
Took
to
OT.
cash it.
Man.
Needed OT.
He
to
needed
catch
the onside kick.
You needed
Massive
You're sick.
swing.
You
Look,
were
here's the
rooting
thing.
for it. You're sick.
Here's the
You
thing.
don't bleed.
I needed
Sam
the
doesn't
exact
bleed.
opposite. When the Vikings pulled ahead by 11, I sent in the group chat, man, it's kind of funny that the Vikings are ahead by 11. That's perfect for losing the minus 3.5 that I have. Lo and behold.
I mean, you could set your watch by them giving up 8 there, and then the thing is, they were just always going to get their onside kick. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, the only way that this resolves favorably for me is that actually, if we do go to overtime, they have to make the field goal, and then the Vikings accidentally score a touchdown or whatever, which actually still allowed Luke's bet to cash because his was win by 1-6, and they don't kick the extra point in overtime because a bunch of players got into a hissy fit about being on the field for extra points a couple of years ago, and so you can only win by 6 or 3. Well, I guess by 2 you could win in overtime. And so Luke was going to cash if the Vikings won, period. I just needed them to win by more than 3. And no, the Vikings decided that they would rather take a sure win with a field goal
Cowards.
than try and get a touchdown.
You needed Hockenson to fight just a little bit more to
Just
get
a
through that
little
on
bit
that.
more,
Just
man.
a little bit more and just walk it off.
150 yards is not enough, my guy. You missed half the season.
It's funny too because it didn't feel like Hockenson had a catch until late in the second quarter, or going
No, he
into
didn't.
halftime. He had 2 for 12, 2 for 13.
He had one little one that was a 3rd down conversion that came up
Yeah,
short, and they punted. And then he just popped off in the 4th quarter in overtime.
Man,
Yeah, he had a 20-yarder, I think, in the 3rd quarter that got to 33 yards, and I was like, I just need one more catch to hit 35.
Right.
And I got that, I guess.
But going into halftime, I was trying to put myself in your guys' shoes. You guys had to be sweating.
Oh, mailing it in.
Yeah,
Mailing it
especially
in
you,
with,
Sam,
with my
especially.
I
was
had him in.
fine.
I had him in this. I had him
Yeah,
in Prize
Reef, you
Picks.
were
I
good.
had real money. I had fake money.
I had many.
I was
Stakes
on
into
pace
Hockenson.
for both of my bets because I had Vikings minus 3.5.
Yeah, you
Vikings
were feeling
ahead.
great.
And I had Hockenson 35.5 or whatever, and he had 30. And I was like, man, it'll be fine. It'll work itself out.
The under did not hit for me. I did also have the under in that game, and
And
obviously that-
Did you know the crazy stat too? The under had hit in Chicago. Vikes in Soldier had hit the last 4 or 5 games in a row.
Oh yeah, I mean it's been 22, 29, 32.
I talked about this a little bit in my piece. How it always feels like the Vikings underperform in Soldier, and I think that's more an offensive thing than anything else. Because aside from this game, the Vikings have covered their previous 4 games.
Right.
They've won in
In
Soldier
Soldier.
5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And we're still crazy things happen in Soldier. Always going to lose at Soldier. They've won 5 times in a row. Not only that, they covered the last 4 times.
Yeah.
But we're still man, I just hate playing in Soldier. I think it's because the offense just isn't doing much.
Well,
And
do
it's
you guys remember the last loss in Soldier? 2019, I think it was
2019.
week 4. Kirk Cousins.
Chase Daniel. Yeah.
Chase Daniel, 16-6. Yeah, you guys know.
Khalil Mack
Yeah.
just ate Dalvin Cook's
6
lunch.
sacks, 5 sacks,
Yep.
something like that.
Same
Kirk.
uniforms. Same weird
Same
throwbacks.
unis.
Yeah.
It's always a little disconcerting to see the purples on the road.
Yeah, the purples on grass is weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, KOC now 9-4 on grass outdoors and 3-0 in Soldier, obviously.
It's a pretty good nerdy stat, Luke.
Justin Jefferson has never lost at Soldier Field.
Wow.
Is that beautiful?
That's great. Do you think people ask him hey, what about the Soldier Field curse? And he's just like, what?
He's like, what do you mean? I win there every time.
No. 7 out of 10. I mean, it's a decade now. It's a decade of owning the Bears at Soldier Field, and we're still haunted.
Well, what's our record at home then? Because I know we needed to win that game in Week 17 versus the Bears. Had nothing to play for. We lost that. What was that?
They lost a dumb
last
one
week.
in 20. Was it 20 or 21? They lost another dumb one.
That was terrible.
Late in the season. So yeah, and then last
Oh
year,
yeah, 20 they lost to
12-10.
Mitch Trubisky. Trubisky kind of owned the Vikings, and then Justin Fields very much did not. They shouldn't have moved on.
They've played them in a lot of meaning. The home games are almost always meaningless because they played them how many years when there was nothing at stake in Week 17.
Yeah.
Where it was all right.
Yeah, it was just like backup guys.
Yeah, 2022
Avante
Soldier
Collins,
was stupid.
Avante Collins.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stupid games. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's a ton of stupid games, but
2019 was meaningless. I think years and years and years. Although I do remember 2016 meaningless game already eliminated from playoff contention, and so were the Bears. And Rashad Hill broke out and then was part of the team for 5 years.
Yeah.
Wasn't Mike Zimmer's final game against the Bears at home?
On the road against Detroit. And everyone was really mad that they didn't chase a rookie record for Justin Jefferson.
That's right.
I think that was home against the Bears.
Was it? Maybe.
Double check me, but
or not a rookie record, a season record, because it was.
that was. I think that was 2021 Week 17 Bears. Check me on that though. Who won the day for the Vikings? You've got Darnold.
Oh, you're right.
You've got Jones. Thank you, Brian. Jones 106 yards. And the first second half rushing touchdown for the Vikings in 28 games, the longest streak since the Dayton Triangles.
Yeah, talk about nerdy stats. Jesus.
How good
was
Fox?
Boy, they had that one ready to go. Someone had that.
How'd they nail that, but not the number of onside kicks that have been recovered this year?
Right.
Someone didn't watch Ravens games. To answer your question, it's Jordan Addison. My God, it's Jordan Addison. With all the crazy explosives throughout the entire day, unlike Hockenson and Aaron Jones disappearing for a big chunk of the day too, but that wasn't on him. Kevin O'Connell just forgot that this was 11-on-11 football. And Jordan Addison was the beneficiary of the whole Justin Jefferson gravity thing. I've even seen some stuff coming out for people who are on NFL Pro looking at some of the key plays, and all of them, you see Justin Jefferson just triple double, just everybody flowing toward him, and Jordan Addison wide open.
And he's ripping off these sick blocks on linebackers too.
It's
crazy.
Jefferson cooked, man.
You know what?
Addison too. His first bomb. I mean, just getting draped all over.
Oh my God, what a catch! And pretty strong catch on the touchdown on the ensuing touchdown too.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know who I thought of on the 69-yarder to start the second half?
Nice.
You know what that looked like? Percy Harvin. That was pure Percy. To bounce off the tackle and then keep your balance. To keep your balance on the sideline. He was going 100 miles an hour straight at the sideline, and somehow, I don't know how he changed directions, guys. One of the craziest physics-defying cuts upfield that I've seen. Marvelous.
That was a really funny play. I mean, for all the reasons that you pointed out, but also it was just an opportunity for Mike Pereira to tick everyone off by pointing out
the boundary cam thing.
And it wouldn't have changed the play, by the way. It was the boundary cameras confirmed that this was fine.
Yeah, it would have been confirmed instead of stands.
Yeah, and he was just but by the way, were this to go the other way, the coaches would not be able to use the boundary cameras to challenge the outcome of this play, but the replay booth in New York can, right? And it was just why? Why? Why are we allowed to use information?
Absolutely wild that Soldier Field is on the cutting edge here.
Yeah, well, I compared this to the fact that Florida was famously so bad at elections that it swung an outcome in 2000, and then suddenly got extremely good at counting ballots. And I think that's what happened to Soldier Field, where they had the worst all-22 in a long time, And I mean, like the sideline camera was atrocious. Like I can't explain how bad. And now it's actually a pretty good all 22. Plus they have extra cameras like the boundary camera. That's so nice.
But Arif, okay, so they have it on that side of the field. There was a pretty critical play earlier in the game with Keenan Allen on the other sideline. Didn't see a boundary cam on that one. Like, and I think it worked. I think they got it right.
They had a definitive
zoom.
Angle anyways.
Yeah,
it was the all 22 angle. They got it from the all 22 angle. You could see the toe go into the white.
Yeah. Also, I imagine that they didn't show us the boundary angle. I'm sure that there was a boundary camera for that one because like it'd be weird to just have it for the one boundary. But I think they probably didn't show it. Right, that too. But I think they probably didn't show it to us because they were like, well, this can't, because we're looking at what the refs are looking at. This can't change the outcome. And later, Mike Pereira was like, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah, Pereira's like, I've been sitting on this for a while. I finally get to talk about it.
Finally.
He's been mad about it. And now that he's brought attention to it, the NFL is going to like panic and put them all in.
Yeah.
Because they got caught.
You can't use it because a coach in another stadium can't use it. So
insane,
neither coach in this stadium.
It's insane. What is it? A $10 billion industry? You can't buy a couple more cameras? Come on.
Hey man, you know, that kind of attitude, they'd only be at $9.95 billion.
Yeah, we can't be paying for all these guys. They're going union now down here. This guy, he wants insurance down here. He wants me to cover that. He's faking it.
Absolutely disastrous couple of weeks for the Shield with ref controversies, boundary cam controversies, labor rights controversies. It's going bad.
That's about it, though.
Thought the refs had a decent day. They missed the clear.
Well, they're notorious for holding calls, right? Like they're that crew specifically calls the most holding calls of all the crews
in our game.
Yeah. That crew,
did they forget them at home?
That crew,
because I've got a couple of complaints.
That was the thing.
There was a nasty hold in the end zone.
Swallowed one in the end zone. Yep.
Swallowed one in the end zone. Also, very suspicious visible forearm in the sack on Caleb Williams in overtime. Grenard held up for a while.
Yes.
Did you see Grenard tweet out tweet out his sack? That was cool. He was just like, "Yeah, you get held up. I don't know. You get the sack."
Yeah, but I mean fight through it, right? No excuses. But I get to be mad. He doesn't have to be. No. I'll be mad for him.
Yeah, no, we should be mad actually.
Who was that double team? Swift and Komet, and they just decided to leak out after 9 seconds. We're just going to leak out.
Yeah, well, that's like kind of what it was. 7-man protection against a 3-man rush. So they had 3 routes on 8 guys in coverage. Nobody was ever going to be open, and Caleb Williams just didn't run out, even though he kind of had it. Jonathan Bullard ended up hitting the ground. He kind of had a lane to escape if he wanted to like change the angles, but he just sort of kept drifting backwards, and then suddenly it was like a 16-yard sack.
Man,
whoops!
Incredible work by Grenard there. I mean,
if only that was on his college tape.
To not let him get outside, to keep him contained, to have the patience, and then wrap him up. Really good play.
So I will say, Bears fans, brutal. I mean, the way they've lost their last 3 games, obviously. Matt Eberflus is 2-12 against the NFC North since he's been hired. Do Bears fans feel good about Caleb though? Because there's a few plays, man, that
when I peek
okay,
at Bears Twitter or Bears Blue Sky, they're all very optimistic, not just about Caleb Williams, but also this offensive coordinator. In fact, actually, after one game, so last week, with the new offensive coordinator, I saw a prominent Bears account tweet out, they should fire everyone except that offensive coordinator and promote him to head coach. 1 week.
1 week.
Like, that's how much different this guy is than Shane Waldron.
Yeah.
But they want Matt Eberflus gone. They love Caleb. They think that the future is outstanding for Caleb. I actually don't think that they've got too much delusion there. I think that that's a fine stance to take. This new offensive coordinator, they're really feeling it.
They're unlocking some things finally.
They
probably should have been unlocked for week 1, to be honest. But he's figured that fourth down. He converted 2 4th downs, 1 to Roma Dunze, which that was more Roma Dunze than anything, going up and getting it double coverage. And then and that also I feel like is probably what what makes Bears fans a little bit more optimistic about the future too. I mean, Roma Dunze is just scratching the surface as well. But that other fourth down he converted with his legs, jumping over, was it Ward?
That was infuriating.
That was insane. Dude, put your arm out. Just trip him. Come on now. Yeah, I'm just saying, there was a couple plays. The DJ Moore throw, there's a couple bullets in there. He's got potential. He might be all right.
And his receivers receivers didn't do many favors. At least 3 drops, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keenan
I think
Allen on every third down was like Hall of Fame worthy in the first half.
Made up for it a little bit too, though, right? Like, yeah.
He hung.
Cole Kmet dropped a wide open. There was a lull for both offenses in the third quarter where it was like 3-and-out, 3-and-out, 3-and-out. Cole Kmet dropped one. I think Jalen Naylor dropped one. I'm talking third downs here too.
Yeah.
But you're right. In general, there were some nice splash plays, but outside of that, there was some definite big drops for sure.
I do want to say this. TBD screen name gives me a jumping off point to talk about this. So Caleb did have some very turnover worthy throws.
Yeah,
he in
that's what I
fact
was
had
gonna
3
say.
of them.
Like
Harrison
the high
Smith
misses are so
Cam Bynum.
intercepted.
Yeah. So Cameron Bynum dropped one. Harrison Smith dropped one.
Gilmore
dropped
could
one.
have sealed the whole game. We wouldn't even had overtime.
Right.
Gilmore.
So So there were 3 turnover-worthy plays that were dropped by they got into defensive backs' hands and were dropped by the defense. And I would argue that that's a pretty good sign for the defense. So, the defense gives up 2.07 points per drive. That's not wonderful, right? But I want to point out that this is actually not that bad because, like you point out early in the game, Sam, or early in the show, Sam, they had a 99.9% chance of winning. The team that got you to 99.9% chance, that's also the team that collapsed it. But the portion of the game that translates more into season-long play as we finish out the season is the portion of the game that got you to 99.9%. Those final 30 seconds, infuriating. You should be upset that they gave it up. But the fact that they got there means more than the fact that they gave it up in terms of projecting out this team and forcing a quarterback that's otherwise having a really good day into those 3 turnover-worthy throws. Yeah, in the game, when you're coaching your players, you got to have it. You got to catch those. In games going forward, the ability to force turnover-worthy plays is more static than the ability to actually generate turnovers. And so the Vikings put themselves in a position where, Caleb Williams is having a pretty good day against the blitz. I'm glad they kept blitzing, by the way. But putting them in a position where they're constantly putting the ball at risk is how you win these games. They didn't really close out defensively like the way you want to. Although, again, that safety should have happened, which would have, I think, changed the texture of the game pretty substantially. But the defense, from a process perspective, I think performed a lot better than we saw from an outcome perspective. And I think it's good. And when the defense didn't, come up with the offense did. And I think that that's kind of what we've been waiting for, given that the 2 losses, the offense did not come up with what happened when the defense faltered. Right. Most of these games that the Vikings have won, especially over the last, 4 weeks, have been because of how the defense has performed. Now it's because of how the offense did. And you kind of wanted to see that.
Yeah. Caleb Williams against the blitz yesterday, 15 of 20, 192, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks. The blitz just didn't work yesterday. And he's super mobile.
Any turnover-worthy throws, though, in those 5 incompletions?
Nope.
Huh? Wow.
None.
I'd
Really
be
good
very
against
curious to see how all of this splits out in 2-minute versus not 2-minute.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings gave up 13 of their 27 points in 2 minutes. Half of the entire production
I don't think
came
they
in
need
2 minutes.
to isolate and figure out.
Yeah. And so in terms of the regular neutral situations down to down are a lot more encouraging, and maybe the 2-minute is something you should be more upset about than concerned about moving forward. But also they keep giving up really bad drives in the end of halves and at the end of games here. I get it when you're up 2 scores and there's less than 2 minutes left and you just need it to take a long time. And that's going to skew yards. That's going to skew production. That's going to mess with your stats.
What happened against San Francisco and so on. Yeah.
And Green Bay, right? Remember they said, that 400-yard game, but outside of it, it was outside of, those 2-minute drives where they were kind of letting them just move the ball down the field just to tackle them in bounds. That's a consideration. And I get that, but also giving up the touchdown in the 2 is just failing. And giving up points as easily as they did at the end of the half is also just failing. They have a serious 2-minute issue, and they need to, I think, construct their approach there.
Shades of 21 Zimmer. When we return, touch on the injuries, a couple big ones, the Vikings' place in the NFC, and we'll update the gambling standings on the Minnesota Football Party. And those bets for the gambling standings come via FanDuel. Great new offer for new customers at FanDuel. You can bet $5. If you win that bet, you get $150 in bonus bets to spend at America's #1 sportsbook. You've got college football, college basketball, NFL, NBA, NHL, and plenty more. Every line, every league at the FanDuel Sportsbook app or FanDuel.com. When you have a hunch, you can cash it in, like those TJ Hockenson alt yard props that we took. Yeah, baby, 70 plus at plus 470. Could have gotten greedier. Could have done TJ Hockenson 100 plus yards and made like plus 1,500 money. That's real cash. And those options are at FanDuel.com. You can join today. Bet 5, get 150 if that $5 bet wins. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more. It's FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Injuries. Cam Robinson, foot or ankle. I don't know. I feel like I've heard both. Ivan Pace, hamstring. The tone of KOC after the game seemed negative, more negative than usual on Pace. That could be an IR situation. Don't know about Robinson. Which of them hits harder for you? How about Arif Hassan? Take it away.
I mean, obviously it depends on the prognosis for either, right? You know, if the Ivan Pace one is IR and Cam Robinson is not, then obviously the Pace one. But in terms of like what is a bigger problem for the Vikings going forward if they don't have either of them available, Ivan Pace is the better player, but I think the bigger problem is not having Cam Robinson. I think that, I mean, the Vikings pass protection was largely good except for two players, Dalton Reisner and David Quessenberry. And you know, it's hard to like blame Quessenberry, but that's the bargain the Vikings struck when they signed Sam Darnold, is that you've got a guy that's going to hold on to the ball for quite a bit. And so you have like a higher standard of pass protection. And that's also just like part of the offensive design too, that you hold on to the ball a little bit longer. So you have a higher standard of pass protection. It's just, you know, built into the offensive design. And the weakness of this particular approach is that you're a little bit more vulnerable to pass protection injuries than a lot of other teams might be, because you don't get rid of the ball that quickly. So that's going to, I think, be a bigger concern. I think the drop off from Robinson to Quessenberry is bigger than the drop off from Pace to Grugier Hill, even though the Vikings defensive structure is really friendly to the way that Ivan Pace plays and the way that they want to use him. And they would rather Blake Cashman be a do everything guy than a guy that fills in. And Grugier Hill doesn't do everything that Ivan Pace does. And so you're just like limiting your flexibility. But I think the bigger problem is if you don't have Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
And I panic to thinking if Quessenberry is now your starter, if Robinson's out for a number of weeks, you are a Quessenberry injury away from what? I mean,
Walter Rouse, baby.
Walter Rouse, baby.
Yeah.
Walter,
He'll probably be active
out
now.
of the cryo chamber. They'll have to activate him. He's been a scratch all season, or maybe some kind of Brandel to left.
Yeah, you might move Brandel.
Feeney. Dan Feeney makes an appearance at guard, or Ingram.
Yeah, Ingram would probably go back in. Yeah,
probably right there. But yeah, I mean, Inman. What strikes you is, let's say they're both out for 4 weeks, like minimum IR term. Like what would hurt you most?
Yeah, I'm with Arif. It's Cam. The drop off from Cam to Quessenberry. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the postcast. Like, we've seen Grugier Hill fill in already for Cashman. We've seen what it looks like. It's not this monster liability. And maybe you're saying that, you know, okay, Quessenberry wasn't a huge liability. I haven't seen any type of pressures or numbers from yesterday, but it felt, you know, the eye test, it felt like he held up okay. But big picture, like long term, anytime you got some backup offensive linemen starting, teams are going to start to attack that guy. And it's just like when Darisaw went down, you know they're going to have to start sliding extra protection over his way, tight end chips, maybe Blake Brandel helping out more because Darisaw was left on that island all the time. And that just can't be the case, obviously, with Cam Robinson now out and then Quessenberry in. So, yeah, I think the drop-off is too big going from Cam Robinson to Quessenberry. Both hurt quite a bit. Two huge names, two huge starters. Hurts to see either one of them miss any time. And I guess we'll find out the severity of both here in a few minutes at that KOC presser. But certainly I'm more worried about long-term, multiple weeks, multiple games, Quessenberry and what that looks like for the pass protection.
Yeah, just don't know if we're talking about a sprain with Cam. We didn't get a replay. We didn't get much info.
He didn't look like he was in a lot of pain
Again,
or
failure
anything,
of
but
the
that doesn't tell you
broadcast.
anything either. You never know.
Yeah, hamstring for Pace doesn't strike me as a good one.
Well, that one looked that one they
yeah,
showed
it
the
looked
replay,
really-
and that one looked just
that looked
not great.
tough.
Like your body's not supposed to bend that way.
No.
Basically.
No,
I'm not a fan of like speculating on how long stuff should be. I'll just wait for them to tell me. But yeah, Cam Robinson is definitely a worse loss. I mean, he already was a backup plan.
Yeah.
You traded for a guy because you didn't like Quessenberry and Rouse as your options. Now you're forced into him. That sucks.
Yeah.
I also have a little concern about a Sam Darnold flare up too, because those ankles get worse the day after. If that was not a nothing ankle twist. I mean, something happened there. Hopefully low grade. Wasn't high ankle. Seemed like his foot was kind of off the
I
ground.
thought it was
Maybe
his foot, not his ankle.
Because
Because he had a foot thing all week.
Okay, so you think it was an aggravation of what he had before?
That is what it felt like. But again, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out on Wednesday. They'll have an official word on it. So,
hard turn here, but I actually wanted to get into this from Kale Chips. The Caleb Evans waived.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
What is
Surprised
Nick Muse
by him.
roster spot,
Yeah.
and he lost his job on special teams to Trent
Right,
Sherfield.
yeah. So like obviously a lot of this has to do with like, you had to elevate McQuaid, you had Nick Muse coming back, and so it's just like a bunch of roster pressure. I'm a little curious though, because I would have expected a concurrent move on the practice squad and then put a Caleb Evans on the practice squad. Now, I didn't pour over all the transaction reports, but I don't recall seeing an email saying that Caleb Evans was moved to the practice squad and someone was waived from the practice squad. So that is the case. So I actually did not react to that much to Evans being waived because I was like, a lot of roster pressure. He's at the bottom of the cornerback group. And then I didn't see a later transaction putting him on the practice squad. And so now I'm a little bit curious about that. I guess he's just bad. I don't know. I've considered him like a promising corner that's had, pretty good moments that he might be able to coach up. But I don't know. Like maybe he'll be added to the practice squad later this week. I don't know.
Another hit to the pipeline. Like how many guys with team control did you have at corner? That was one of them. And this is like
Literally just Blackman.
The hope of coming off the ACL. The hope in
Right?
22 was, they've got this rookie in Evans, they've got this rookie in Asamoah, they've got a couple defensive pieces, right? Nope, they don't. Corner continues to look pretty bleak for next year.
So Jay Ward
Jesus
officially
Christ.
a
Dwight
safety
McGlothern. And if you count Jay Ward,
Oh, yeah.
those are the guys with team control. That's why
It's
like they're gonna have to paper this over with like 1 year, the most washed veterans
they got
alive.
Fabian Moreau, right? You don't worry about that.
But no team control on him.
Oh,
And by
that's
the way,
true.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure this means Fabian Moreau has been CB4 the whole time and would have gone in if somebody got hurt.
That's true. That is what that means.
Yeah.
Though it could be the case, right, that they actually think Caleb Evans is the better corner, but Fabian Moreau is the better special teamer. So that's just kind of the choice that they made.
No, Fabian Moreau has been a healthy scratch a bunch. I don't think he plays special teams at all.
Okay, then it's not the case at all.
He's just
a
a guy they like. I mean, they had him
all
playing
that
like running with the ones ahead of Caleb Evans in camp when Griffin was hurt and they hadn't signed Gilmore yet.
You remember a week ago when Sam was like, do the Vikings have a wide receiver depth problem? And then some guy named Jordan Addison just went off for 160 yards. I think actually the Vikings might have a cornerback depth problem. Maybe that's the real issue.
What about quarterback depth with the report from Schefter that Daniel Jones could sign with the Vikings or Ravens?
Hey, Brioville,
preferred
I don't want to be too much of a nitpicker. He wasn't waived, he was cut. There is a difference because if you are waived, you hit the waiver wire and then someone who claims you on the waiver wire will absorb your contract. If you're cut, a team negotiates a new contract with you. And if there are offsets in the contract, which based on the reporting, it sounds like there were offsets in the Daniel Jones contract. If there are offsets in the contract, then the Giants are only responsible for the difference between the two contracts in terms of how it affects their cap and how it affects their cash flow. So I want to make it just a small difference here. He wasn't waived; he was cut, which means he can sign with any team. He's not going to be picked up off waiver wire. Multiple people have suggested that the Vikings might be interested in Daniel Jones. I don't see it.
Not when you got Nick Mullins.
I don't see
coming
the
off the
logic
bench.
for
Why
it.
would you?
Yeah, like Nick Mullins is a good backup that I like, but Brett Rapine doesn't matter.
Per play, by the way.
How about we just give Daniel Jones a vet the last 6 games of vet minimum, right? Plus whatever playoff game checks or whatever. Let him run around on the scout team, chill out in our state of the art facilities, and then let him walk and get whatever comp pick happens.
Like
That's
Josh
whatever.
Rosen situation. Do we have Josh Rosen for like 3 weeks?
We don't need to play him.
Yeah,
we just need him to be technically a Vikings free agent.
Yeah.
Now, how does the comp pick formula? How does that work for a guy that plays 10 games and then gets cut and then comes to a new, like, how does
it doesn't matter
that works for the next team. Yeah. And the Vikings got burned on the other side of that with a mid-season cut a couple of years ago. I forget who it was. Yeah. Some corner or something. Maybe
I just want to point out that
Nick
Nick Mullins is 2 for 2 this year for 38 yards, 100%.
Yeah, like I said, he's leading the league
and 2 first downs.
Yeah, leading the league in EPA per play by a wide margin.
3rd and 13. Hey, one other guy got a shout out real quick. Who was on the Bo Richter train with me?
Me.
Matthew Collar also wrote a feature.
Like
on
a lot
Bo
of you
Richter
guys. I
this
feel
week.
like maybe all 3 of you guys were at one point.
Yeah. Primarily for the name, but he was also pretty high in the consensus board. Bo Richter.
Yeah, football name. Like football name.
80s action star name.
Yeah,
Heads up play, recovering that muffed punt.
Ripping it up on special teams lately. Yeah.
I totally forgot that he was the one that recovered the muffed punt until I was looking at Getty images, like featured images for the game to put it together for my game story. And it was like Bo Richter front and center. I was like, what in the why does he have the ball? Oh,
great weekend for Air Force.
Right.
Yeah.
Wonder if Gabe Murphy makes an appearance at all this year.
I was going to say that, like, making a play on special teams might have been huge for him with Gabe Murphy coming back to the roster.
Yeah, bearing down. Yeah, that's been like, and hey, obviously we were all watching Hockenson pretty closely yesterday for obvious reasons. We'll get into the gambling results in a minute, but how much did it bother you when they're like in the red zone and Nick Muse is on the field instead of TJ Hockenson? I was
didn't bother me at all.
I think they've been doing that in 12 personnel in particular, in more physical play calls, because I think they're still trying a little bit to protect TJ Hockenson physically. So before it would be Munt and Oliver would come on and TJ Hockenson would come off in those situations. But TJ Hawkinson's a good run blocker. He actually had some really great ones in this game. So I think they're still just kind of being ginger with him with that, and that's why his snap counts are weird. But yeah, I think if you're going to be goal line, big and physical, a guy that came off that really bad knee injury, they're going to say, yeah, we can have Nick Muse absorb this one.
Okay, I'm corrected by chat. Jason A says that Daniel Jones was waived and was on the waiver wire, which is crazy to me because I thought the waiver wire only applied to people with 5 years in the NFL. This is his 6th. But he was waived. But he'll clear waivers, and so he'll get to negotiate a contract. So,
well, you better apologize to
he'll be a
Burrito
true
Bill,
free
man.
agent.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Burrito Bill.
You really went hard at him.
No. I wasn't meant to. I wasn't meant to. It was
God,
just
you're
like
so mean
thing.
to Burrito Bill.
I'm more mean to Macho Meach, and I think justifiably.
Yes.
Luke Inman has taken a commanding gambling lead as he finds his way to Vikings win by 1 to 6 point margin at plus 280 and Seahawks plus 1.5 easy cover. He wins 458 and change for the week. He's now at 1480 overall. I have slipped into second thanks to the TJ Hockenson 70+ yard heroics. That bet alone cashed me $564. I lost the under, won over $400 for the week. I'm at 12-16 out of the cellar and into second. Arif Hassan hits Hockenson, misses the Vikings spread, basically breaks even for the week. You're at
$14. Yeah.
You lost $14.
Can I just say, too, we gripe about, it's kind of tough to make these bets on Thursdays. Didn't the Vikings line end up at Vikings by 2.5? Because that's what I'm seeing on ESPN. I'm looking at the box score.
I
on
think it did
ESPN
move
Vikings.
at the very end. Yeah.
So
Ah!
that's cool, right?
If
This
it
is
was
a
like-
game, dude. It's just
If
a
it was
game.
horse racing, that line would you would get the adjusted line, but no, you lock it in.
Some will let you click that button, but then you have to there's gamesmanship to that too.
Luke Braun, you're last. You went 1-1. You lost on the Pats, and it wasn't close. And you got Hockenson 40+ yards. You did win 14-40 for the week. You're at 9-0-2. So we got a little bit of spread. We're spread out now. Inman's up by 200 and change on me. I'm up by 200 and change on Arif, and he's up by 111 on Luke Braun. So we're
That's
spreading
just
out a little
one
bit.
week of play.
Yeah,
That's
the,
1 week,
the,
man.
the minimums are now big enough where that's anybody's game.
Yeah,
and
1
0-2.
0-2.
If I go 2-0 and Luke goes
Yeah.
0-2, we're right back
Yeah.
into each other.
Is Arif okay?
I just
He's
can't
very
lose
tilted.
to Luke. I just
Get him
I'm
an
so close to
Uncrustable.
losing
Get the
to
guy
Luke
an
Braun.
Uncrustable right now.
I can't.
Uncrustable.
I'm
He's
only
crashing out.
$100 ahead of Luke Braun. I can't. This can't happen.
Loser.
I am
Host.
mad. I was
draft
torn
pick.
between taking the Titans and the Patriots, and I picked the wrong one.
Patriots made
Patriots
a
kind of made it close
a
there
light
at the end.
a light bid there at the end. They
For a
still,
backdoor
even if they
cover,
got
yeah.
another 2-pointer though, that they still were 2 possessions away from.
I forgot
covering.
that Miami is a bit of a soldier field for them. That they just cannot function in Miami. I forgot.
Yeah.
That's on me. That's on me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure they can function at all this year. With Gerard Mayo. That's-
Drake May
Hey,
looks
They took it
okay.
to the Bears. Beat the Bears more handily than we did.
Yeah, only allowed him 3 points.
Correct. I'll also say just to kick off we're not going to preview the Cardinals today, but I will note that the Cardinals offense looked considerably less formidable yesterday than I had been led to believe. That
So
might
it
Week to
seems
week
like,
proposition. You can
Yeah.
get any version of them.
I don't know. It seems like both Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury have a second half of the season problem. I don't know, man. It's kind of curious.
Ooh, interesting on Cliff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's been happening. Washington obviously had a really interesting fourth quarter.
Mhm.
But
I don't know if that's on Cliff.
but
I mean,
well,
it's-
I mean, no. But offensively, they produced like a 90-yard drive of their own in the fourth quarter. There was really great Terry McLaurin play. But yeah, the second half of the season for Washington has not been great offensively.
If you were a red zone watcher yesterday, you got treated to Bears, Vikings, Chiefs, Panthers, and Commanders, Cowboys simultaneously. Your mind would have exploded.
Yeah. Twitter was going absolutely nuts. And I was like, man, I wish I could enjoy whatever else is going on instead of white knuckling through this
Right, yeah,
disaster
instead of,
onside kick situation.
Developing another ulcer, yeah, for sure.
I keep red zone on the second screen, so my attention was kind of locked in on Vikings, Bears, but I would look over and there
Yeah, I would
often
hear
be
Scott
something
Hansen
happening.
just go off, and I'd be like, "Oh, there's some business over there. I will attend to that."
We're going to have to catch up on whatever that was.
Yeah,
Yeah, there were just the score would change in Commanders Cowboys every minute, and I didn't know why. I was shocked.
I don't think they knew why. We're still exploring the space, if we're being honest.
The best was when the Cowboys returned their onside kick for a touchdown, and McCarthy was mad.
He was
because
right
they
to be mad, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was really dumb. You got to
Lay
get down,
down.
dude.
lay down.
Yeah.
That
I
was-
get why you're going for glory, but get down.
I do respect it. It's a division rival in their house. Screw them.
If not
It's
that-
wrong. It's a bad idea, but I respect it.
Right, I think that being mad visibly on the sideline from a coaching perspective is probably not the correct move. I understand why he was mad, but probably that's hey, great play, never do that again, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
No, I get it. As a coach, you're going man, you could have just cost us the game. You just gave them a chance to win the game, you idiot. But he also shouldn't apologize. I don't think anyone did anything wrong here. Good job, Cowboys.
Yeah, if there's another 30 seconds on the clock, that's probably a lot more egregious. But there was only 14 seconds
16.
against a team that I don't know if they've ever converted a Hail Mary before. So
Oh my God.
Minnesota Football Party is live Mondays and Thursdays with this crew. Ron Johnson joins on Thursdays. This is a Thanksgiving Thursday. I think we've lightly discussed moving the next episode to Wednesday, so that will be the tentative
Lightly, I
plan.
thought we committed to it.
Yeah, I think that's the plan now.
In pen. It's I guess it's etched in stone. Wednesday show.
Now announced
We
it
went,
live.
we went from pencil to pen to stone in like no time flat.
Wow.
That will be today's show. Vikings win. They're 9-2. Victory Monday. Thanks for listening on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed or watching on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Have a great rest of your day and a happy Thanksgiving week to all.